So Brussel Martin was introduced to bonsai at the age of 5 when his father, who was an architect, brought some back from a trip to California. And it became a hobby for Brussel after he finished high school. He eventually had the whole back and side yard of his house full of bonsai projects. Around 1970, he placed a small ad in the only national bonsai magazine, and that was the beginning of his business of growing and importing bonsai. In the years that followed, he has done bonsai demonstrations and workshops across the US. And Brussel developed relationships with sellers in Japan and China through yearly buying trips starting in the early 1980s. And Brussel's bonsai nursery is the largest and best in the US. They have their own catalog and website, but mostly sell through their companies, through other companies like FTD, 1800 Flowers, Amazon, Walmart, Target, and Costco. Those are some big names. The pandemic has been good for sales, actually, and sales have doubled in the past 5 months. So please welcome Brussel Martin.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hey, I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be here, and I think everybody can see me okay, and you can see I have bonsai behind me. So I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with bonsai, and it's pronounced bonsai. You can say bonsai, but technically it's bonsai. And you know, bonsai is from Asia that started probably several hundred years ago, and it's kind of a reproduction of nature and miniature. So you're bringing trees into containers in Japan and China in small backyards. So it's kind of a miniaturization of nature. But bonsai is basically a technique. It's not any particular kind of a tree. So if you saw Karate Kid, you know, you saw a juniper that was done up, and a lot of folks think bonsai is just a juniper. Well, it's not. It's many different, and I'll show you several different types of bonsai, you know, that you might not be familiar with. So bonsai is the techniques that you apply to plants or trees that have maybe a small leaf or a short needle. So you create a bonsai through the years and through wiring and pinching and different techniques like that. So you can technically bonsai anything, but you want to work with trees that will make a good bonsai. And that shortens the list quite a bit. So, you know, we grow mainly what is popular and what's been grown for quite a while, which are, you know, basically smaller leaf, shorter needled in you know, dwarf varieties. So having said that, that means, you know, it's a pretty broad spectrum of what you can actually turn into a bonsai. But now there's two basic categories of bonsai. There's what we call indoor bonsai and outdoor bonsai. Indoor bonsai are tropical plants, and a lot of people, I don't necessarily like it, want to have a bonsai and they want to have it inside their house. Well, if you have that, you technically need to have a tropical or an indoor bonsai. Outdoor bonsai are trees that need to go through the seasonal changes. So the maple trees turn color in the fall and drop off, and the pines and all that, even though they're evergreens, they still need a dormant season. So, and tropicals don't. So that's kind of the difference, you know, in my opinion, real bonsai are outdoor bonsai. And in Japan, most bonsais are trees that you keep on your patio or deck. And, you know, you let them go through the seasons. And even here in Memphis, the winters aren't that cold, so there's not much winter protection required for outdoor bonsai. So outdoor bonsai, you keep on your patio or deck, you bring them in for special occasions like a dinner party or something, and then you put them back outside. Tropicals or indoor bonsai can do better inside, but in reality, they actually need to go out in the summer months because growing conditions are better. So there is no such thing as a true indoor year-round bonsai sitting in somebody's den window or kitchen window. So that's just the nature horticulture of plants. So that's kind of, you know, what you need to learn what, you know, how bonsai works into your uh, lifestyle, you know, and bonsai is not for everybody. It's, you know, once you have a tree, indoor, outdoor, you've got to water it. You got to maintain it. It's not totally like having a pet, but it's a pretty, you know, it's dependent on you because bonsai means tree in a pot. And that in our soil is a special bonsai soil, which works great, but it, you know, it needs watering in the hot summertime once a day. So, you know, if bonsai was for everybody, as big as our place is, it'd be 100 times bigger. So, but it's a great hobby for, you know, a lot of doctors and lawyers and, you know, believe it or not, quite a few men, mostly men do bonsai, but everybody does, men, women, but they usually have collections, and it's a way to relax, and it's a connection to nature. So you get to see with outdoor trees, you get to see the fall color, winter dormancy, where you get to see all the nice twigging in your trees. So it gives you a connection to the seasonal changes in nature. And then, like I say, the bonsai technique is, even though you're working with a small leafed or small needle plant, they're not being deprived of fertilizer or any kind of nutrients. So these are trees in a bonsai pot, which is selected kind of like framing a picture for the size of the tree. But you keep those things as healthy and growing and good color. They're not deprived of any kind of nutrients to keep them dwarfed. So you're constantly pinching, trimming to maintain your bonsai shape. So they're healthy trees. They're not stunted because they're in a pot or stunted because of being deprived of nutrients. So as you can see probably behind me, you'll see most everything's deep green, nice, healthy. I've trimmed all the new growth off, but it's so, you know, it's a great connection to horticulture and knowing what makes plants tick. And you know, there's some bonsai that are easier to grow than others. Some, you know, anybody that wants an entry level bonsai that either comes in here or we ship to through our catalog and website, we kind of recommend a tree that's pretty durable, like outdoor, a green mound juniper, which I got one behind me, is kind of the entry level bonsai for outdoor. And it's got all the movement and all that, and it's evergreen. So, you know, we try to guide folks. We want everybody to be successful with bonsai. So it's really a combination of art and nature. You have it in a pot, it's living, so you have to maintain it. And every once in a while, I say once in a while, it depends on the tree, you repot your bonsai. And that might be I'd say, just as a general rule of thumb, about every 3 to 5 years, something like that. They don't need repotting every year. That might be a misnomer if somebody thinks that. But you keep them fertilized and growing, so the roots are constantly growing, and because you've got a healthy tree. So I'll show you some of the wire we use, you know, because a lot of the shapes in the bonsai are created. They're not a natural shape that the tree would grow in naturally. So what you're trying to do is reproduce interesting shapes, interesting movement in trunks and branches that mimic or represent unusual or nice trees in nature. So a lot of them might be windswept styles, or then we do forest. I don't think I brought my forest plantings in. Maybe I'll get somebody to go get one. But, you know, a multiple tree maple forest. So it's a lot of people are surprised in the broad spectrum of the plants that are used for bonsai. We do Satsuki azaleas that, you know, I buy some from Japan and we grow quite a bit, but they bloom, you know, in end of April, 1st of May. So, and then you can even do a little crab apple and some other blooming and fruiting trees. Most bonsai tend to be enjoyed for their character, like old junipers or old pines. I've got an old pine back here that's got a nice trunk. Let me reach back here and get it. Good thing it's got a soul sign on it too. But this is a 5. I think y'all can see this. This is a 5-needle pine that came from Japan. That's probably, even though it's not big, it's probably 30 or 40 years old. And it was grafted originally. This is a black pine and this is a 5-needle. And it has a nice, relatively short needle, has nice movement to the trunk, nice root base. So this is a good example of a nice, not too big bonsai that, you know, is outdoor. Now this tree is relatively expensive because it's old. So, and that's in Japan, age and value doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be bigger. So this is a nice, smaller tree, but it's still relatively expensive. I think it's probably in the neighborhood of about $800 or $900. Here's another cool tree that is a trident maple, and see, it has a nice small leaf. I think you can you see that okay? I think you can. And this is another good, I brought in small, nice trees. So they're not all this expensive, but see, this has a small leaf. It's been on this rock for probably 20 or 30 years, but this is a root over rock style, which is very nice and very interesting. But this happens to be a $1,600 tree. So not all our trees are $1,600, needless to say. But it just shows you nice things can come in a small package. And this tree is probably, it's probably been over the rock about 20 years, 20 or 25 years. But it's a very nice, and this is a size they call shohin, which is kind of, you know, a real popular size because it's not too big, but it's interesting and has some character to it. But this happens to be one of the indoor varieties that we grow. This one came from China. It's called Fujian tea, and it's interesting. It has all the curves in the trunk, has some nice blooms on it that, you know, pretty much go all summer long. It has a nice small leaf. And it's a very popular plant because it has all the characteristics, and it's a / indoor. So this needs quite a bit of sunlight if it's inside, like in a direct sunny window. So this is as good an indoor as you can get. But even this, I recommend in the summertime that people put them outside no matter where they live in the country. But, or, you know, so it's air circulation, just growing conditions are better. Easier to water outside, light's better, you know.
Can you bring that tree over a little bit so we can see it a little bit better? Yeah.
So this and doesn't have a big trunk. This is not an expensive tree. I think this tree is like, I say it's a more expensive than some of our entry level, but this is like a $90 tree. And then I've got a smaller version of this that's like a $38 version. Just looks just like this, only about half the size. So this, we grow bonsai here. We have people that contract grow for us all across the country, and then we import some. And this tree was imported from China just this year. So with our business booming like it is, we probably brought in 5,000 of these, just this one plant. And so they come in bare root because the USDA requires that. And then we'll put them in a nursery pot to get them going for about a month. And then this one's probably been in this pot just a few weeks. So after a month in a pot. So once they come in 3 months, they're ready to go out the back door or the front door, whatever. And
bring it a little over towards your right a little bit more so we can see.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm better off with them over on this side.
Well, that looks good.
Yeah. Yeah. So So like I say, this Fukian tea is a real popular indoor. I'll get you another couple of indoors. This is a very low maintenance. It's called a dwarf jade, and you probably heard of that. And this is a good example of how you can make a bonsai out of, and this is a very simple, this is our least expensive, 27 bucks or 28 bucks or something like that. So, and I have this, anything that makes a good bonsai, I'll have in about 4 sizes. So this is the smallest jade. Then we have one a little taller, a little bigger trunk, and even bigger than that. So this is a good, easy to take care of indoor bonsai that does well in low light, medium light, whatever. So, and it only needs watering about twice a week. So it's pretty user friendly. So this is, this plant in probably 3 or 4 more are what we would call our easiest and entry level bonsai. So this has a nice small leaf. We've trimmed it, and by trimming, you get all this inner growth. So you get a nice, fully developed canopy that is just makes a nice bonsai. So this is just one that's, not what I would call easy to take care of, and the entry level bonsai. Here's another. This is called Golden Gate ficus. This comes from China, and these curves don't just happen. These were done when they were very small, and they put a interesting curve in it, because once it gets this size, you can never put a curve in it. So this is developed from day one as a bonsai. And this is a ficus that has a nice small leaf. That's important. So once you've done all this, your foliage is in scale. It has an interesting striated bark that is pretty cool. Then the branches, see, this one hadn't had any wire put on it because we had so many.
Just a little bit so we can see those branches. There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So, this, in my opinion, this pad needs to get a little more developed in here. You got plenty of branching at the top, and that's what you develop over time. So if a person got this, they could add a little wire, and I'll show you our wire here in a minute, and in that way refine it even more. It might look finished now, but it's still got quite a bit. But the superstructure is here. The nice curved trunk, the branch placement's good on it, the foliage is good, and you can see we on most of our not our older trees, we use a different fertilizer. But you can see here, I'm going to tilt this a little to where you can see this is a time release fertilizer similar to Osmocote, but it's called Harold's. It's a commercial version of Osmocote. So this, every time you water this, it gets fertilized, and that lasts about 6 months. So pretty much the whole growing season. Now, like I say, these are tropical. So if you have this on your patio or deck, you can't let it freeze. So, roughly September, October, you bring your tropicals inside. Your hardy bonsai can stay outside around here, anything above 20 degrees, which very seldom gets below 20. So if your trees are sitting, your juniper, your maple, or your pine or elm or something are sitting outside, and it goes to 28 degrees, and as long as their soil's damp on them, which it usually is, don't worry about it. They can freeze solid as a brick bat, and it won't hurt them. So here's the typical, what I would call bonsai or bonsai, but bonsai. And this is a green mound juniper, and we probably sell thousands of these a year in different sizes. This is about a medium size. So, and it naturally grows in the curves, and then we trim it out to highlight the branching and open it up where you can see the nice movement. So this is probably very similar to Karate Kid, what everybody probably, if you saw the movie Karate Kid, these are the typical bonsai look, and it's a good, easy to take care of tree. Like I say, this can sit out in the Memphis winter more than likely 365 days a year. if you wanted it to. Now, if it gets below 20 degrees, you might put it in a garage, tool shed. So what you're trying to do is just let it slowly freeze and slowly thaw. But as long as they're damp and you don't water them as much in the winter, some folks around here will what we call heel them in. That means set them on the ground in a place that drains well. And then you put pine needles or leaves up over the pot. And all that does is slowly, lets them slowly freeze or slowly thaw. So outdoor bonsai in the Memphis area are really, you know, basically year round. I mean, it's not, you know, we ship all over the United States. So people are you know, you get up in Minnesota and upstate New York, they have different winter protections. Here, it's not a big deal. It's really isn't. Now, if you really want to see a cool tree, this happens to be, let me stick this tag up in here. This is a Satsuki azalea that I think, is that look pretty good? Can you see it? Yeah.
Maybe
so
a tiny bit higher.
A little higher?
That's good. That's good.
Okay. So this is a Satsuki azalea that's called root appearing. And it's even got a label on it here that shows the color of the bloom. And so Satsukis, there's probably 200 varieties of Satsuki, different bloom sizes, different colors, variegated bloom, you name it. Every it's Japanese have hybridized so many Satsuki azaleas, it's unbelievable. This is what they call root appearing style. So it's a technique that they've used. They won't tell you exactly how they do it, and I don't blame them. Is over time, it's probably grown in a column and they've exposed these roots. So now they've basically barked up and turned into part of the trunk. So it's very interesting. It's like a basket weave. It's just a natural basket weave. And then, you know, you've got the nice smaller leafed azalea foliage on top of that. So this is real popular. It's everybody, you know, we sell to people that have every kind of bonsai you can think of, but they might not have this one. So that's a pretty cool tree. And that tree is probably, I'd say 30 years old, and it is, I think that's about $900. So, but we have a little azalea that we sell probably 30 to 40,000 of them a year that are maybe 6 or 8 inches tall, that are the same, basically the same type of azalea. And they're about, I think, $24, something like that. So, you know, I'm just trying to show you all the broad spectrum of bonsai, not just, you know, what a lot of folks think of as one kind of a tree, a bonsai tree or a bonsai tree. So it's a, you know, it's an art that I've been doing it for about 50 years now. And I've got a personal collection at my house, which are all automatically watered. I have a little soaker hose system that is, I've had them there about 2 years now. I just built a house, but about a mile away. But it's, so the watering is, you know, this time of the year in hot Memphis weather, watering is critical. So I've got it set up where mine's automatic. But a lot of folks like to hand water, and, you know, you can do it either way, but you can not water. So, you know, it's a great hobby to do on your patio or deck. And you can see, I was going to show you some wire. Here's, you know, all these, most of the branches on these were somewhere along the line on some of the older trees had a piece of wire, training wire on them at one time. And that training wire, we use, there's several things you can use. Copper is one of them, but we use what we call anodized aluminum. And it comes in, you can get it in many different sizes from Japan. And so you pick the size wire for the particular branch size that you're getting ready to manipulate. And I think I can show you on this juniper. You can see I wired a couple of little branches here, and they might have been, you can see the, if I hold it up, like you can see the wire I put on here, and these branches might have been not where I wanted them. So by wrapping the right size anodized aluminum wire on each branch, you can position these exactly in the most, you know, aesthetically pleasing spot. Then you leave that wire on there, probably, it varies from tree to tree, but probably 6 months. And then you can either come in and unwire it or unwrap it, or you can come in and just cut it off in little sections, and that limb will stay there. So it's a temporary way to guide and direct your tree, your trunk, or your branches into interesting shapes. So any good bonsai is more than likely had some wire on it at one time or another. And you can do deciduous trees. You got to be a little more careful with deciduous because the bark is a little more delicate. So, but conifers like this and pines, this juniper actually grows it naturally grows flat on the ground. So it's a, you know, it's a flat growing juniper, but we train them up a stake, which gives it this serpentine look, which is one reason this is reasonably priced, is because of the fact that it's easier to make than something that you've had to wire the trunk from the get-go. So this is a good, you can actually find junipers at your local garden center, but not run up a stake like this. So this is a good, reasonably priced bonsai for somebody that wants to get a first bonsai. So that's that. And then I really couldn't bring them. I really couldn't bring them in, but I have huge specimens. I mean, you can probably go to our website, or for sure, if you go to the exhibit at the Dixon, you'll see that this is the tip of the iceberg. The real blockbuster bonsai still have some here in my house, but at the Dixon, there's a great, good cross section of, we got a big ball cypress there, and we got a nice black pine and Korean hornbeam, very unusual, there's a weeping red-leafed hornbeam that I got in Japan probably 40 years ago. That's the only one I've ever seen in the United States. So, and it's a real graceful tree. It's a weeping, all the branches weep down from the main trunk. So, bonsai is kind of an open end hobby to where you can, like I say, you can technically bonsai anything. Now, down in Louisiana, a friend of mine that collects it was probably 30 feet tall. He cut it, dug it, trimmed, made a new top, and the taper on it, the real trick to making a tree look realistic, especially bigger trees, is the taper to the trunk. If you see that ball cypress, you'll say, wow, it doesn't even look like it looks like it's naturally grew, just like it is. So that's real bonsai techniques that can help you make a nicer tree, a better tree. And there's a few, most bonsais are done on what I would call nursery grown material, or material that's propagated by man. Now there's a few trees in Japan, there's quite a few, but in the United States, there's a few trees you can go collect out of the wild. But most of them tend to be kind of out west, like ponderosa pine, which you can find 2 and 3. We've got some here that are 200 years old, but you can find 300 and 400 and 500-year-old ponderosa pines. You have to get a permit to dig them and all that, so they're dug legally. But they have a little longer needle, but they make a really cool bonsai once you get them established and have them styled out. Then there's Rocky Mountain juniper. That's a juniper similar to what we call Shimpaku juniper from Japan, but you can find 500-year-old Rocky Mountains out there, and the trick is finding a place where you can collect them legally and properly, and then having a way to reestablish them. We have some of that here, but Memphis happens to be a pretty good spot. There's only a few trees, maybe larch and hemlock, and a few trees that can't take the Memphis environment. But Memphis is very good. It's kind of like the middle of Japan. It's very good for hardy material because you don't have a very harsh winter and you have a longer growing season. So we can grow stuff here for the bonsai market a lot quicker than what little competition we have probably other parts of the country. So Memphis is a good spot to grow bonsai out on your patio or deck because, you know, it gets a little hot, and, you know, the ideal place to put a bonsai is morning sun and afternoon shade. So that's the ideal position. So you don't need but about 2 or 3 hours of sunlight. So if you can knock off afternoon sun, which is hottest, the west sun, then you know your bonsai won't be quite as stressed for, you know, after you water them or during the day. So even in the hot summertime, we only water once a day. So some folks sometimes water more than once, but I don't think you need to. So, but this time of year, we water everything once a day. And our soil is a particular, it's a blend that I created or found several years ago. It's little high-fired pieces of clay that I'll show you if you can see this. They're fired about like a brick, so they don't dissolve, they don't break down, but they have little bitty air pockets all in them. They're like a little hard sponge. And what that does is we mix that with finely ground pine bark. There's a little bit of humus in there, maybe 30 to 40% humus, but it doesn't, in a bonsai, you don't want your soil to compact over time. So you want your soil to percolate. So that means when you water it, water runs through it and air pulls air with it. So our mix always those little particles never dissolve or never break down, but yet they hold the water. So they'll actually absorb water and hold it and then release it. So it's the best. We ship it all over the country, but a good bonsai, you know, your tree's going to be in that pot forever. So having an ideal bonsai soil that is root friendly, that you can grow roots in is the top of the heap. That's the most important ingredient in our scenario. So it's proven. The old Missouri thing showed me. I've been using it for 40 years, and I got the healthiest bonsai on the market. So between that and fertilizing, you know, like I say, you want to fertilize your bonsai, but a good bonsai soil fertilized, you'll have a healthy tree. And then you just make sure you water it. And that's the main crux is, you know, I try to tell folks that it's not rocket science, or I wouldn't be doing it. So, you know, if you water once a day in the hot summertime, morning sun, afternoon shade, maybe give them a little winter protection. Watch out there are some pests. Not many get onto bonsai, but like red spider, you can get red spider on junipers just like you do in your yard. So they're susceptible to insects just like anything else. But you know, you can get a spray called Safer Soap or neem oil, and what we tell folks is preventatively spray. Just spray your trees once a month or once every 6 weeks with a insecticidal soap, which is Safer Soap or neem oil, and then you probably won't have any bugs. So it's best to be preventative instead of reactive. So, you know, fertilize, watch for the insects, trimming. A lot of folks are skittish about trimming a bonsai. So here's a little scissor that I use that's we sell, and, you know, we sell all the bonsai tools also. But this is a nice little pointed nose pair of scissors. So you can get in and do detail work. And so you can't be allergic to trimming. So once your bonsai starts to grow out of its little canopy, say I'll show you here on this little jade, and this is a decent example. See, this is a little piece of growth that's getting out. You know, sometimes folks will bring trees in 3 or 4 months after they've gotten it, and the growth's out 6 or 8 or 10 inches, and I go, well, you know, you gotta maintain these. You gotta keep the little canopy trimmed, and once they get over that hump, they realize that by doing that, you encourage more inner growth, and it does nothing but improve and refine your bonsai. So you got to realize these things grow, even if they have a small leaf, and they require some form of routine, just during the growing season, routine trimming. So, you know, that just refine that canopy a little more. So you can, in this one, this Fukian T, I think I trimmed everything off of it, but it'll elongate and zip something out, you know, and it'll be a foot long if you don't do anything about it. So there is maintenance involved, and that's the fun part. A lot of folks, that's part of, they enjoy the fact that you can shape a tree, you can position your branches, you can trim it, you can let a limb grow out a little more if you want it to be a little longer. And so bonsai is as good as your imagination. You know, you can basically create whatever you can dream up with a bonsai. So, you know, I personally do a lot of forest plantings are one of my favorites. And I forgot to bring one, but I mean, you can go to our website and probably see it. But trident maples, dawn redwoods, those are both deciduous. They make nice forests. And I do we get an interesting rock in from out in Utah. It's called lace rock. So I don't know if I got any on my site, but then we put trees on rocks, not over, there's over rock and then there's on a rock. So we have these big, interesting undulated rocks that we put mainly conifers on. But and that's a pretty cool thing. So if you ever come out here to Brussels Bonsai, it's down in Olive Branch, Mississippi on Center Hill Road. It's you'll get to see the just how broad a spectrum of plants that can actually make great bonsai. We sell everything here from $20 trees to $20,000 trees. So it's your one-stop bonsai nursery. And tools, supplies, our soil mix we sell, and you know, it's if there's anything you want to know about bonsai, we don't sell you a tree and wave goodbye to you. So there's a good bonsai club in town. The Memphis Bonsai Society is a pretty strong club, and you know, they meet at the Botanic Garden. They don't meet at the Dixon, but that's good. If you get serious about bonsai, that's a good thing to get into. And so, you know, it's a hobby that's, like I say, is not for everybody, but it's a lot of doctors and people that it's a good way to unwind and stress and have a connection to nature and sip on a mint julep while you're working on your bonsai. So I don't necessarily do that, but it's kind of in my blood. I can't get it out, but you know, and this is a great location. It gets hot in the summertime, and you know, you going out there to water or trim on your bonsai might get a little, you know, old, but it's a fun hobby, and you know, I think it's a great hobby. You know, and during this pandemic, our sales, because of the fact that people are sitting at home, and you know, and the people we sell through, like FTD and Pro Flowers and Amazon, the floral industry, a floral kind of what do you call it, the pipeline shut down. So they were all promoting bonsai, which is, I was happy as a lark for that. So, but hey, you know, so I think that might be, I probably missed something, but you know, that's kind of a little insight into bonsai. And if you go see the exhibit or come out here, you'll get to see the rest of it. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Well, we've got a few questions. Thank you for that talk. It was so great.
Yeah.
Just, some short little answers about, the first one is, why are bonsai always in those shallow little pots?
Well, but the pot is like framing a picture. So you have a tree that's a certain height and a certain width, and you want to have a pot that matches that aesthetically and, visually. So, as a rule, like unglazed pots are for conifers, so you don't have a distraction of a real bright glaze with a pine tree or a juniper. But they're all sized according to the tree. So it's when you look at it, if it's in too small of a pot, it looks like you crammed your foot in a shoe too small. So it's really done from the aesthetic end of, it's usually like 2/3 of the height of the tree is the pot width. So, but the whole key is you look at it and you go, that works. That looks balanced and up to in the right depth pot, width pot, everything. So there is every pot, every tree has a certain criteria that lets you determine kind of what pot it goes in. Yeah, or rock or whatever, but mainly pots are size. Yeah.
The criteria is just the height and the width of the tree?
Yeah, height and the width and the trunk size. So, if you got a big trunk, sometimes you get a little deeper pot so the trunk won't look so out of proportion. So there's kind of a checklist you go through, or criteria. And, and a lot of folks go, well, hey, I want my juniper in a glaze pot. And I go, hey, you can put it in a glaze pot. That's, if you like it. Some of it's personal preference. Aesthetically, it's the size pot is usually determined by what fits it visually, height and width and all that.
Okay.
So that's why we have that's why we probably have 50,000 pots here, because I need to have that many to have just the right pot.
It's good to have just the right one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is the most unusual tree you've ever bonsai'd? And also, is that the correct way to put it? To make a verb out of it? Do you say bonsai'd?
Yeah, you make a bonsai. So yeah, it's like collecting a tree out of the wild. It's a wild, and some trees take a long time to make a real nice bonsai. So, I think bonsai is, it's the overall encompassing thing. So in reality, there's not a natural bonsai. So you create, I think I'm answering this right. You take a rough plant material or any plant material and you make it into a bonsai. And that is, once you've done that, and, some folks' bonsais are better than other folks' bonsais. I don't try to, judge somebody's bonsai by, saying, oh, I wish you should have. I try to help them if they did something bad wrong. But a lot of it is the journey, having fun, making it. And it takes years to get a nice one, to refine one, say probably at least 5 years to develop a nice, even if you have a nice trunk or something. So it's what all of them are lumped into the word bonsai. They're all considered bonsai.
So what is the most unusual tree you've ever?
The most unusual tree is probably, I'm trying to think of what, I've seen folks, I haven't had it, but poison ivy. You can make a bonsai out of poison ivy. You can, in Japan, they have poison ivy bonsai. I don't buy any of them, but, and anything that's a vine, a tree, or a bush, you can technically make a bonsai out of it. Kingsville boxwood, there's these real miniature boxwood. It's the dwarfest of all boxwoods. It has a little bitty leaf and it grows very slow. So it's, it's a very low maintenance tree because you don't have to trim on it much, but you have to wait about 10 years to get a tree that's the size of a grapefruit. So, you know, that's pretty, probably the rarest tree I have is my weeping hornbeam that's in the exhibit at the Dixon. It's the only one I know of outside of Japan, and there's only about a handful in Japan.
So what is the oldest bonsai that you have? And the price of some of the trees is exorbitant. Is that because it's old? What makes them expensive? So two-part question. What's the oldest tree you have, and why are they so expensive?
Well, my business partner, McNeil McDonald, has, I've got some that are about 100 years old, maybe 150 years old. He's got a Shimpaku juniper that I bought in Japan probably 10 years ago now. It's 600 years old. It was collected out of the mountains, and it's probably been a bonsai for 75 years, something like that. And so it had some interesting trunk. That was a 500-year-old trunk when they dug it or collected it. And then they refined it into this. And it's not at the Dixon, it's still at his house. But, you know, and age is it's a factor, don't get me wrong. But I've got many 100-year or 50-year-old trees that look better than 200-year-old trees. So age has some influence on how nice a tree looks, but it's not necessarily the end all. A lot of folks are always curious, well, how old is that? Well, how old does it look? So you're really, the older you can make something, a bonsai look, in the less amount of time, the better you are, better bonsai person you are. So age and character is what you're always trying to put into a bonsai to make it better. Now, as far as expense goes, I've got a big Hinoki cypress that I turned down $45,000 for. I didn't tell my wife, but I turned down $45,000, and it's my signature tree. It's really not for sale, but we've sold trees that are sold $20,000 bonsai, and what makes them worth that is several things. They're old, they're very nice. So, like I say, old doesn't always mean valuable. It means valuable, but not real value. So it's a combination of age, quality, type of tree, and just the general overall spectacular tree it is. So most of the trees we get that sell for that were imported. So they were grown in Japan, but there's several guys out on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon, as an example. There's a little bonsai community out there. They dig and collect trees and train them out, wire them out, and sell them for $30,000 and $40,000 5 years after they dig them out of the mountains.
So when you talk about digging a tree out, it sounds like when you describe it, you're talking about digging a mature adult tree out. But
you're digging a trunk. What you do is collecting. These guys that collect, they're not looking at the branch. The branches might go out 5 or 6 feet and be wild. They're looking at the superstructure of the trunk that's down at the base and going, I'm going to manipulate these branches back when I style it out. So when you see somebody that's dug a 300-year-old tree out of the ponderosa pine, a lot of times they're doing it on land they're getting ready to bulldoze, or it's on Bureau of Land Management land that is, they're getting ready to log it and come in and cut everything down. So they're not stripping the environment out there. They're actually coming in on private property or right ahead of logging companies. So I've got several friends that are in the logging industry that do that. But what they do is they dig a trunk, then they develop all these branches. They'll sometimes graft branches on, or sometimes bend them back. So what they're looking for is what's going to end up being the trunk of the bonsai. The foliage and all that that's the real art and trick. These guys out on the West Coast spent years in Japan. All these guys studied for 6 years under bonsai masters in Japan. They can take that, doesn't do it overnight, but they take it and style it into a bonsai over 5 or 6 years, and then put a hefty price tag on it.
So We have a question from Carol. She says, the nursery in Olive Branch is huge and fascinating to visit. How in the world do you maintain and trim the thousands of bonsai?
That's a good question. It's I have probably right now we probably have 50 employees. So, you know, we have folks that do nothing but pot, have folks that do nothing but ship, have some folks that do nothing but trim. So, you know, as knock on wood, as good as business has been, things aren't sitting here as long, so they don't have to be trimmed quite as much. But yeah, it's a there's a lot of trimming that goes on here, trimming, potting. So it's a lot to maintain, but you know, we have a good crew of folks that you know, a lot of them have been working here probably 10 years. So, you know, some things get away from us. You know, we have a priority list, so you're always working on the things that are the top of the priority list, but hopefully everything gets done on your list. But it's a lot of, we have some mechanical trimmers and we have some big long scissors. So there's a few shortcuts, but there's no real shortcut to trimming 150,000 trees. Though we do spray some growth regulant on our, we have like probably 1,000 at one time. We don't have that many right now, but 40,000 little azaleas we sell at Mother's Day. Those have a little bitty leaf, but they'll grow bigger. So we spray a growth retardant on that, like a B9 or something. It's like they use in the floral industry, and that helps. But yeah, we everything's growing here, fertilized and watered, so it's a lot of trimming.
Okay. Oh, my dogs are going to bark right now, of course, when I want to talk. So thank you so much. We're pretty short on time now, and we were going to look at your website, but we're kind of running out of time. So tell everyone what your website is so they can go to it if they'd like.
Yeah, you'll see, like I say, you won't see everything there, but it's the best place to see our selection of bonsai that we sell. And we 95% of our business is shipping outside of Memphis. So we ship all over the United States to, to any state in the union, blah, blah, blah. So our website's important. You're more than welcome to come out here and look around, but you can go there and find you an indoor bonsai, an outdoor bonsai, proper care of them, things like that. It's brusselsbonsai.com. And, you know, we just redid it. So it's really pretty spectacular. It should have. It cost a fortune to redo it. But and they're categorized indoor and outdoor. And they're probably you'll have a symbol that'll tell you easy to take care of. So that's a good way to go shop. If you want to have it shipped to you, you want to ship it to a friend. But if you live locally, you're more than welcome to come out here and peruse the nursery.
Okay, well, thank you so much for telling us all about bonsai and for helping the Dixon with our bonsai exhibition. Please, everyone, go out and see the exhibition. I'm going to go see it soon myself. And if anyone has any last little comments, we can unmute if you want to and have a few little chats before I end the meeting.
Yeah, if you go see the exhibit at the Dixon, you'll see the how interested in a broad selection of plants there is to do bonsai.
That was very interesting. Thank you.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
There are lots of people over in the chat that are saying thank you, Russell.
Good.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank y'all for tuning in, as they say.
Carol is asking where the exhibit is. It is back in the Hughes Pavilion. Is it not, Russell?
Yeah, it's in the Hughes Pavilion, which is a great setting. It's really, it's like being in the woods, and it's a nice setting. They're all on stands, and it's pretty. I think you'll be impressed. and it runs through this weekend, through next weekend. I don't know what that date is, but
I think August 9th.
I think that's the
Not
night.
positive. I don't have that date.
Through
written
next Sunday. Through next Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That
May be the second then.
I think that's pretty close right there.
August 9th, according to Suzanne.
There you go. Good.
The
Well,
Dixon
we get-
employee doesn't know.
Yeah. There you go. Oh yeah, it's on a sheet. Yeah. Well, that's good. So that's plenty of time to go see it. And they're taking them out every day and watering them. I made Dale promise that. So they're getting taken care of. But like I say, we're open 5 days a week. We're not open on Saturdays and Sundays. I work them too hard during the week so that we're open selective Saturdays. We have an open house in March and a preview sale in March, an open house in September. And then we have a rendezvous, which we had to cancel this year, which is a big convention here every year in the end of May. But anytime Monday through Friday, 7:30 till 4:30, come on.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming to Munch and Learn. And I'm going to end the meeting, but thank you, Brussel.
Oh, thank
And
y'all.
Come on out to the Dixon and see the bonsai and the art.
Great. Well, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank y'all.